What are some things rich kids won't understand growing up? I went to high school with a ton of rich kids. One girl in particular seemed to have it all. She was thin, tall, beautiful, dressed nice, drove a Porsche, had friends, and got good grades. But she lacked all common sense. One day she comes in saying she stole her mom's emerald bracelet because she wouldn't let her wear it. She was flaunting those dark green jewels to everyone. Fast forward a couple classes into the day, now she's saying the bracelet fell off and she can't find it. Says it's going to teach her mother a lesson for not letting her wear it and that her mother will just have to buy a new one. When I was 15 or so I got drunk in a park with my friends. Ended up losing a bracelet my mother bought me as a birthday gift a few years prior. That bracelet was $40, which was a lot of money for my mother to spend on a gift. I was used to not getting anything for my birthday. We got back to my friend's house around midnight and I didn't notice the bracelet was gone until around 3 AM. I marched my butt back to the park and searched for that bracelet until dawn broke and I finally found it. Some things just can't be replaced. Having your parents borrow money you saved up to pay the bills. That living paycheck to paycheck is an actual thing. Late payments and having cell phone, electricity, water cut off. Visiting cash advanced stores with your parents. Having Metro PCS. The amount of unsupervised alone time spent growing up. Both my parents worked all day and couldn't afford summer camp or anything like that. In the summers I would just hang out in the house alone or with the other neighborhood kids while the parents were at work. Having no money for Christmas trees, fireworks, Halloween costumes to celebrate holidays. If I break this, my family cannot just afford to buy me another one. In high school I watched a girl break her phone on purpose because she wanted it upgraded, but her mom said the phone she had worked just fine. She came in the next day with a brand new phone. Rich kids can never understand the pain, humiliation, helplessness and sadness of seeing your mom walk in the door with a box of food that you know she had to beg the food bank to let her have. Thinking about this now makes me upset still, but when I was a kid it was a fact of life that I was too young to embrace the burden of. Times like that made me grow up way too fast, while other kids might have just complained and bitched about frivolous crap. Seeing my mother go through that really left me feeling upset and helpless. Being outcasted in an activity because you can't afford it, field trips, movies, etc. Knowing how long different places take to cash a check, low on gas and broke, the co-op takes a week to cash the check so you are safe. Also how to hook up grill propane tanks up to your water heater or furnace. My husband was baffled when I looked at hookups when we were house shopping just in case. It was a moment I realized we had very different childhoods. Buying their own school clothes. I'm mid-20s and still wearing clothing I had in middle school. I just can't bring myself to spend money on clothes. Socks and underwear are about the only things I replace annually. Sometimes I'll buy a t-shirt at a special event. Going to grandma's house just because, and realizing that it's because there's no food at your house and grandma wants to make sure you've eaten dinner. Oh man, I'm positive that if it weren't for grandma's house we would have all starved to death at some point. How awesome it is to buy a cheap Honda that'll run forever. Pretending you're not even hungry and that's why you're not eating lunch. Moving past all the usual material stuff, one thing that sucked for me growing up was that I couldn't just up and go places when invited, even if it was free or their parents covered the cost of the activity. My mother was always broken though we had a car. Gas was reserved for the work commute only. I couldn't just get a ride from my mom and she never had spare change for the bus. Every dollar was accounted for. I got a lot of come to the movies with us. And don't worry I'll pay for you, just be across the city by 5:30. It sucked having to explain yet again that no money meant no money for anything, even a ride. Whoa, I had never considered this as a problem, and I am by no means rich. Thanks. Filing out FAFSA without the help of your parents. This hurts a lot more than it should. No, Mark, I can't spend a semester in Europe. Well, if you were paying European tuition it would be easy. That Santa doesn't visit some kids. The worst was after the break, when the teachers at school would go around the room and ask what everyone got for Christmas. Having to lie about getting a gift always stung a bit. Thinking your parents hate you because of their short tempers. then you realize just how freaking stressful it is to raise kids with no money. That graduating from high school going to university is a really big deal for some people. I went to school with rich kids. They didn't get it when I said my parents wouldn't allow me to do something or that I didn't have money. Saving up lunch money to buy something. When I was young and super poor, my rich friends would get mad at me for not having the money to do things with them. From their perspective, I was just ditching them all the time. More recently, my who comes from a wealthy family, and I have been making common law official and moving towards being married, and he totally freaked out about the fact that I have student loans. Apparently he didn't realize that a kid who grew up below the poverty line wouldn't have school paid for them in full. In other words, rich kids don't seem to get that money can be scarce. The feeling of being able to afford your first pair of nice sneakers that you wanted for like a year, appreciating great meals and nice clothes. But I can't say for sure since I don't know how rich kids feel about these things. Maybe they experience similar feelings. Having your entire wardrobe consist of the clothes your older, much taller brother grew out of, that and only ever getting to stay in a Motel 6 when traveling. The overwhelming excitement when your parents can afford a new video game for you. I wish I could recapture that excitement nowadays. I remember when I first heard of Morrowind at school, I was still regularly playing Daggerfall on an old Packard Bell computer, running Windows 95. I told my ma, and she ended up buying it for my dad on his birthday. I was so excited, even if it wasn't my game. I was pretty much glued to my father's side while we played through it. How good beans and cornbread really is. I don't get all the bad rep cornbread gets. Catch me in the kitchen eating cornbread any day. It's weird also dealing with these people in your early 20s, where broke to them means only getting the cheap beer at the bar or only ordering takeout once or twice a week. Or, no, I can't just call my parents for money when I'm stretching things pretty thin. It's mind-blowingly frustrating at times. Not having anything to eat except Kraft dinner and canned soup. But we would eat Kraft dinner, of course we would, we'd just eat more. Begging your parents to buy you a toy from the dollar store. Apparently it is not a common thing to only get new toys on your birthday and on Christmas if you're well off, and to add on to that, paying for half of your birthday gift because your parents wouldn't be able to afford the bills if they spent all of the money on it. How you haven't been more than 2 states away from your home state, and haven't been out of the country. How being poor drains you of motivation and self-respect, and makes opportunities harder to take. How eating crap food and living in a crap place makes you feel like crap, and how hard it can be to break out of that. People who have always been rich have never felt that, so they assume that being poor is just the same as being rich without having money, and that if they were ever poor they would just work their way out of it while remaining chipper. But it's not that easy. Having no money is insidious and it affects your whole outlook and personality. On a more positive note, how once you get some money you have an iron determination to never be poor again, which can make you work harder and better than the rich kids. Being poor can also give you respect for the value of money, and stops you wasting it. Also, when I was poor I was somehow closer to the people who I lived around. We were poor together and we partied together in squats with out-of-date cider. Adding water to empty shampoo bottle to get more shampoo. Middle class, but I do this when I forget that I need shampoo. Not being able to go out to eat at any time. No, Natalie, I am not getting food with you for the 50th time today. I am broke. Just how much you appreciate things and getting all the usage you can out of the things it took saving money for. My parents couldn't always afford games, but the few I had for the PlayStation 2 definitely got their use out of them. Never upgraded, just kept playing it for over 12 years. Still dig it up every once in a while for nostalgia's sake. I remember going nuts when I finally got a memory card for Christmas. Meanwhile I knew kids at school that would drop their system in a heartbeat and go get whatever console had just come out. That when you turn 16 you don't get a car, you just get to be 16. Ketchup sandwich, adding water to milk, only getting new toys on your birthday or Christmas, usually from another family member such as uncle or grandparent. 0.49 cent hamburger day, which turns to days, at McDonald's. Trying to cook and serve dinner loud enough to cover up the sound of your mom crying in her bedroom because she can't afford to pay the electricity this month. Putting on a cheerful face and acting super chipper for your younger siblings as you pack your bags to stay at a roach infested motel because no electricity will get you all taken away by CPS. Walking 5 miles round trip to buy dollar store groceries on your food stamps because your mom can't afford the car or the bus. Walking 7 miles round trip to see the Medicaid doctor after being without your medication for 3 months because that's how long it takes to get an appointment. Having to pack everything you've ever owned into 2 bags. Trying to decide what portions of your life can go in the garbage can because your landlord died and your family got evicted. My cousin grew up rich. I grew up poor to lower middle class. And good god is he a little crap. For Christmas I would ask for something, and if I didn't get it I knew it was probably because my parents couldn't afford it and I'd just try to enjoy what I did get. I've seen my cousin throw a fit because what he asked for wasn't in the first few gifts he opened. He also once threw a fit because he didn't get enough presents, and told his uncles he was going to close his eyes, and when he opened them he wanted more presents. His family just laughed. If I had done that every gift I got would have gone back to the store. He took it for granted that when they went to the store he'd get a toy. I knew not to even ask for a toy unless we were in the dollar store. He would constantly tell us our house and cars were crappier than the house and cars his parents had. He asked why my parents couldn't just get good jobs and buy better stuff. On a family vacation, he and his older brother asked to fly to their summer home in Virginia because they didn't want to go on the long car ride. So their parents bought them plane tickets. On one occasion he wasn't being crappy, just genuinely confused. It was a really hot day during the summer and he was at our house. He asked why we didn't have the AC on and we explained running the AC was expensive, so we only turned it on when it got into the upper 90s. He couldn't understand why we didn't just pay the bill. Utilities that are not on. How I've had this phone for coming up for 5 years. Good ol' iPhone 4. Why don't you upgrade? Yeah, because I just can. Having to switch the batteries in the remote for something else to work. Why my house was so small. I got made fun of because my house was so small, like a garage size. Sorry I didn't live in a mansion like the rest of them. Come on, we had a living rooms. Never had to share rooms with siblings and one guest room, but it was still so tiny to them. Like so tiny they almost missed it and thought it was someone's shed. And as you get older, why I didn't go out eating with them all the time? Or I like seafood, right? Why didn't I just order the bucket of seafood instead of the chicken club sandwich? I wasn't poor growing up, solid middle class background, but compared to them I might as well have been. One of my worst childhood memories was 2 very wealthy girls came to my house and one walked into my room and said, "Your room is the size of my bathroom." I really remember just wanting them to leave after that because I was so embarrassed. Not being able to do something because of a lack of money. I hate that my kids have missed out on so many things because we simply didn't have extra money to pay for it. Sports, camps, school t-shirts, school photos, after school programs, school trips, pool passes, etc. It sucks. For us as parents and for them. I've seen their friends, and their friends' parents, who have more money, just not understand at all, as if we can just pull an extra $100 out of thin air. Sure, we could, but then there would be no food that week. The flip side is our kids are extremely grateful when we can do something extra, and I have seen some of their friends be ungrateful brats because they just expect to be able to do whatever, because money isn't an issue, but it still sucks. Saving up to get the cool toy, playing cards, or something similar. When I was little my parents bought things for me on birthdays, but we definitely were not rich. Nothing was better than saving to get a new pack of playing cards and rifling through it to see what new ones you got. 2 of the richer kids in my class got cards all the time, yet they didn't mean much to them since they could have new ones whenever. They'd lose them and damage them and it killed me. Okay, so I guess this is only in America only, but getting a serious injury and trying to make it look like no big deal so you avoid people asking stuff like, "How long did your doctor say it would take to heal?" Because you don't have insurance and the smallest medical expense would put your family in debt, so you never got it checked out. Seriously, I've broken my foot and not even gotten crutches. Could barely walk, but I had to tough it out and look like nothing was wrong. That is goddamn insane, from a UK perspective. You've been visited by the good sleep capybara. Upvote within the next 5 seconds and you will be blessed with cozy and restful sleeps. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.